Yes, there's going to be things we don't like about it, and there's things we don't, but the truth is, it isn't going to stop it from coming.
Oh my goodness. Welcome, everyone. I am so glad that you're here for Core 90 training with the community here at EXP. It's a great day, and I'm sitting outside. It's nice and cold here. I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona. Beautiful time. A little chilly, so I threw my jacket on today. And today we are covering a topic, by the way, that many of us I know have to be learning at the moment. And I love this title. My dear friend and awesome coach, John Sellers, came up with this. We're talking about AI for dummies today, John. That's what a great way to think about that. But sometimes I feel like a dummy whenever I'm trying to learn something new. What are we covering today?
Well, hey, I'm looking at who's here right now, and it's funny because I put that title together and I was like, for dummies and boomers, and the average age of a real estate agent is over 55, and you'd think those are the ones that are supposed to be on this call because we have a lot of seniors, and they're not on this call. It's funny, is it because they already know it all or they're scared, right? And for the folks that are here, it's going to be such a huge advantage that for the people that take advantage of this. And I've been saying for the agents that are older, like, if you're going to be in this business for 5 or 10 years more, you got to figure this out. So I'm excited that we have a small group. I am far from an expert, guys, and that's why part of why I wanted to teach this and get through it was because I wanted to learn some of this myself. I wanted to be more aware of it. And then I thought we're going to have a smaller group. So there's going to be, I want some feedback. I want people to share with how they're using this, what they're already doing. So we can be a little collective with a smaller group. Um, so I tried to use AI to put to actually do the slides. I spent like 3 hours trying to find the right programs and couldn't figure it out. So somebody knows that I want to take my outline and just have it thrown in and create all the slides, but it just couldn't figure it out. So I did it in Canva and did the best I could. Well, you'll see some errors already in it today. I'm like, oh my gosh, but we're giving it our best, guys. So I'm glad you're here. Good to see you, Jason. I haven't seen you in a while, brother. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll figure out if I can even share properly. Um, and this one, I believe. We there?
See it perfectly.
All right. So AI for Dummies, you'll notice that every single page is going to be page one, I believe, that I noticed after I got done. So I'm like, I'm starting with an accuracy right from the beginning. So, we're all human and we're all learning here, guys. So AI for dummies and boomers. My son gets frustrated because I want to call everything AI. And he's a 20-year-old. He's like, everything's not AI, Dad. There's just automation in a lot of this. I'm like, and for me, everything that seems tricky is AI. I'm like, it's got to be. I'll say, watch TV. I'll be like, or the movies, and I'll say, oh, that's AI. He goes, no, that's what is it called? It's different, Dad. I'm like, there's a million guys working on that. I'm like, I don't know, but everything to me is. So let's get started here, guys. And
CGI.
CGI, there we go. So, for a lot of us, it's just, I still find many agents that don't want to use CRMs. They still want to use a paper situation, and they get frightened by it. And you'd be surprised how many people do not use their CRM accurately, which really isn't AI, but now CRMs have some AI in them. So the big key, and this is for everybody, as we're talking to anybody in any field, AI isn't going to replace us, no different than calculators replaced accountants. It's just how we use it differently. And if we're on the edge to be able to use it, we can really use it to our advantage in what we're doing. Look at this. We're going to stay at page one. Oh, see, page one's there. So I like to talk a little bit about the history of AI and what that actually looked like. When we started, it was like, oh, AI, a computer could play chess. But the computer could not beat people. Today they're beating people, right? I believe they're beating the grandmasters. In the 90s, we started seeing AI, Google, which was AI, the beginning of it, and Amazon recommendations. I love the Amazon recommendations. I probably buy way too much stuff because I see oh, that book could be good too, or boy, I ought to get that complimentary product. And then we started seeing Chat GPT. We've been using maps for a long time, but how much better are they getting now? For a guy like me, I finally figured out how to use in the last week. This is how bad it is. I finally figured out how to make a pin of myself and send it to people. Does everybody already know how to do that? Steve, do you know how to do that? Steve, do you know how to set a pin for yourself on your phone and send it to people?
A pin? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I can do that.
See, I just figured that one out. I'm like, man, and then I just,
Maps are
somebody
great.
sends me
I
the
can do
pin and I
that.
just put it in and it sends me where I'm going. I'm like, and when you're in Mexico, guys, like I am right now, that's really important, because it'll be like, I'm on this back street in the middle of nowhere and I'm like, okay, I can just get there. So Netflix, is going in there and Zillow really, which Zillow just bought Redfin, didn't they? Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. So I think, how can it simplify an agent's personal life? So we're going to talk a little bit about the personal life and see where we're actually using it. And Jeff's going to talk a little bit and add into me with this about how he's using it on some things. But, how are we using it in our schedules, right? Are we using it for our meetings? Where are we doing that? Are we allowing clients to, and this isn't really AI, guys, but are we allowing clients to schedule with us now? Are we giving them calendars to where they can actually fill in a calendar meeting with us? Where are we doing it to simplify our paperwork? What about responsibilities, daily tasks? So, where are we using it for the AI assistant? And some of these tools that I'm going to recommend here are recommended are things that I don't really have that much experience with. So some of these you may go back, and if you've already had experience with them, I want you to share that a little bit. But where are we doing it? Our schedules. How can we confirm automatically? That's a lot with Calendly we're using that has some AI in the middle of that. AI right now for our inbox. I'm not a guy that has a terrible amount of emails. I know because I'm just not that busy like the rest of you, but I imagine a lot of you do. And what I'm seeing is that, Google alone now of sitting in there and AI was automatic going in and saying, is this a real email you want to see? Is this promotion or is this social? Then how do we control that? And there's a lot of other tools out there for you that get hundreds of emails a day. Are you really using the best technology to be able to sort those through, to be able to send out automated responses, all the things that are in there that could really make your life simpler? We can also do that with text right now. How many people are already using text and more of an automated way or AI in the middle of that? And then, do you guys have experience with Trello? Anybody use that before? I have. It's great stuff. So also starting to figure out how things can be automated in your emails. How are your responses being automated? Is anybody using any of the automated tools right now for their bookkeeping?
No, but I'd like to go back. Oh, maybe
Yeah.
we have an echo. I'd like to go back to your Calendly comment because you use Calendly, right, John?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm leaning into that a little bit. I love that there's the free version, right? If you want to have different meetings and different all that, you can pay for stuff, but just a basic link is free to anyone.
I mean,
Um,
Calendly is a great tool as you're getting busier, right?
yeah.
The key
It
with
takes
Calendly
time
is
to look at your phone and go, like, is it Wednesday or Thursday? And well, what about between 2 and 3? And you sit there and text back and forth like a ping pong about what works for each other versus just dropping a link. But I'm kind of in this place now because, I use KV Core a lot and they now have an appointment setter. And so I like that that one is inside my CRM. So I'm kind of like leaning more towards that now. And I don't know if anybody else has used that and it has any input on maybe how to combine them. I would
so
love to.
does KV Core link with your personal calendar?
It does. Yeah. You can set up KV Core so that all your tasks link.
It's going to be the same tool, right? And the key that I found with Calendly, where I get in trouble,
Yeah.
because my life's a lot more flexible than probably a lot of yours, is that I don't fill my calendar up. So when you're using Calendly, what you got to do is you make sure that you can't say, okay, I got a day's open today and I'm just going to let things flow. Then all of a sudden somebody pops appointment in and you're like, oh crap, I'm
And I'm not
I
working.
blocked my mind out with the kids for 3 hours, or I'm
Yeah.
going to the beach, or I'm going somewhere, and now they
Yeah.
pop your calendar. So Calendly is really effective, and I think using it through KV Core would be a great way to do it. I mean, it's the same. It's just a matter of I've found with Calendly is, and really when we're trying to be the most productive, and I'm probably not the most productive guy anymore, guys. So I have a lot of free time in my schedule. But when I was really busy, the key was I scheduled my whole week. I time blocked my whole week. And so that's the key with Calendly, is to make sure that, and you can also set up certain times where you're going to be available for certain. So when you send a link, that link can already have controls of when it's going to be able to fill. So you could set up, okay, this type of meeting, like a client meeting, I'm only meeting this clients between 9 and 12, and then it's going to go into your calendar and see what's available between 9 and 12. So like when I was really selling a lot of real estate, my goal was anything that had to be done on the phone was done before 1 o'clock. My afternoons, I kept very flexible, that I didn't want to be in the office. That's when I was that's when I usually showed houses. That's when I went to closings. Everything in the morning was my prospecting time, meeting with clients. So you can schedule that in, and that's what you want to make sure you do. And I don't know if KV Core allows you to do that like Calendly does. And so Jeff and I'll have, I've had where I have 4 different sets of links, right? So a link will be, these are only 30-minute meetings. These are hour meetings. And I know which ones they are to send to people. So when I'm doing a lot of recruiting, really what I'm doing is I'll say, okay, the intro meeting is when I want to only talk to people for a few minutes. It's going to be 30 minutes. If it's a follow-up meeting, I know I want to leave an hour available. If you guys are trying to set me a meeting with somebody, I might send you a 15-minute one. Now, what you can also do within that is you can schedule how much space you want behind them and in front of them. So like if I'm sending you the 15-minute one, I might schedule in there that I'm going to leave a blank of 15 minutes behind that appointment. So you can't schedule it unless there's a half an hour block. And that way I know if that meeting lasts an extra 15 minutes, I'm okay. But I'm setting the expectation that it's only going to be 15 minutes. So these kind of tools get really, and I don't know if that's really AI. I think that's just really using technology in the middle of that. And how do we do it? Does that help, Liz?
Yeah, I think the big difference between KV Core and Calendly is that you can send a link to schedule Calendly, but KV Core you can't. So I guess if you can just set your calendar in KV Core and it sends them a reminder, but if you need to just allow someone access to your calendar, then you'll send the link, but you really do have to be careful to have your day time blocked.
And you can do both, right?
Yeah, and
So
that's what I've been doing. It would just I feel divided a little bit, but I can handle it.
Yeah. So on the finance side, which I always say is one of the biggest challenges for real estate agents, is keeping track of our money, because it's one thing to make money, it's another thing to keep it and know where it's actually going. And most of us aren't. I'd find most real estate agents today aren't doing their own taxes. If you are, you're not making enough money, so we need to focus on making more money, and then adding some other expenses in there. But what are we doing for budgeting? What are they actually doing to actually see where our money's going, and it'll automatically put them in the right spots? Does anybody use AI in terms of building out their shopping lists and actually creating food and menus and anything like that? Do you do that, Jeff, at all?
I know Lexi has. She's used it, I think, for food, but also for definitely for building her garden. That was a big one recently. Fully designed what can be planted next to what and all that kind of stuff. It was wild.
You can do it as down on the shopping side. And I think most of us are using Fitbits at some point, and those tools right there. One of the tools that I use ChatGPT for that I thought was just amazing to me is I was at this point about 4 months ago, and I do a lot of surfing and I do a lot of golfing. And so those are my 2 main sports. And so I actually went into ChatGPT and I said, hey, give me a workout that incorporates my goals of being a great surfer and a great golfer. And I want to be lifting weights 3 days. I want to work out 5 days a week, and I want weights to be 3 of those days a week. And I don't want the workout to be more than 35 minutes. And then I also said, and I want you, when you give me the exercises, I want you to give me links to actually show me how to do those exercises. And the great part was it came back with just an incredible one. And then it came back with a lot of stretching. And I was like, okay, take the stretching out. And so there's so many tools that they're so bright out there today that we don't even realize. And that workout was amazing because it added the flexibility that I needed for both those different types of workouts. They're very different what they do, but it combined them together. And I thought it was just brilliant. And it seems so, I didn't even think about it because so many times we're paying for workouts or we're thinking it's going to be difficult. We can just do that in the middle of that. Let's go here to the next one. So the biggest thing with AI is prompts. Who's a prompt expert? Anybody? Jeff? So let's go over what the basics are, right? So one is that we need, and this is really key, and I think this is where we can get practice at. You can also buy a lot of prompts from people that are what they call prompt engineers. It's actually a job title now. So the first is be clear and specific. So for example, write a listing for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home. Are most people using AI now for their descriptions of their houses? Everybody? I think that's our cheat now. I think that's probably the number one thing agents use it for, because we got so tired of writing the same thing over and over, right? The other is, so add context, make it sound luxurious, exciting. Now, I just did something for a lot of my automated follow-ups on some Facebook work that I'm doing and at seminars that I'm creating. And I had some basic emails that I wrote out with text responses and all these things, but they really weren't that good, in my opinion. So what I did was I went into ChatGPT and I said, help me with these emails and texts. And I would say, here's the basic, write this in a way. And what I did was, many of you know of a guy named Russell Brunson. Do you know that name?
Yeah.
So he's the ClickFunnels guy, right? So I said, write this as if Russell Brunson was writing it. And I got to tell you, and then it was funny. I said, well, write it as if Tony Robbins wrote it. Write it as if another famous guy wrote it. And you start seeing that it's smart. Now I'm rereading those and editing, but it was amazing how much time it saved me. And when I first started, it was like I put in one and I tried it. Then I started realizing, like, okay, I'm going to put in the whole, write me a whole sequence. And I said, I want the email to go out within 30 seconds of it, of them registering. I want a text to go out a minute after that. I want a 2-day reminder before with an email. And then I want a text to go out 30 seconds after that. And I just wrote that I want this whole series of 10. And it was amazing how it just spit it out, so within 10 minutes, I had all of them, and they were way better than what I could have ever written. And so that was really exciting to me. So set the tone and style, right? In a finely tone. Tell AY what you want to avoid. This is really important, because telling it what I don't want is sometimes as important as what you do want. And especially if you're having it, so let's say you're taking an article and you're having it rewrite it, make sure how you want that to be written. And then I love this about give me variations. Write this 5 different ways and let me look at it. Then it's going to give you 5 of them, and then you can see which one you want to work off of. So how does anybody else do these texts? I mean, does anybody else have real great advice of what they've learned with using prompts?
I have not even barely scratched the surface, but one of the things I just wanted to comment was when the people started writing their AI descriptions of their listings, it was driving me up the wall. Like, first of all, they expanded it, to 2,000 words available. So we have 2,000 words about how you're going to feel when you waltz romantically from the kitchen to the da-da-da. I was like, just tell me about the house. Like, get rid of all of, it just drove me nuts. So I kind of refused to do it. But now what I'm doing is I'm putting in the basics of the house, and they'll do this flowery, emotional, whatever. And then I say, now say it without all the flowery, emotional words and just tell me about the house. And they'll immediately just more my style of, this is what the house has to offer. This is the features, not how you're going to feel when you float from here to there. And when you see this, and when you gaze at that, and when you open your mind to this. So to me, it was a real improvement just to know that I can tell it what a style. So that was a big relief for me, because I was just like, it was driving me nuts.
Well, I love that, Joanne, because what we're doing is AI helps us, but we're still in control. And there's a lot of people that may prefer the flowery stuff. Just because you don't doesn't mean other people don't. So they get to decide how they want to do it, but they can edit to their own flavor. And that's what we're really getting here, is that AI is a tool, but you still aren't going to lose your personality if you don't want to. And you can tell it, Jeff's written enough now and is enough out on the internet now that you could actually do a prompt and ask for Jeff Richmond's version of writing that. And so,
Awesome.
who's in your more style? Like one of the guys that I like a lot is a guy by the name of Robin Sharma. Have you ever heard of Robin Sharma? Anybody? He wrote the book called, what is it? The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. So he's a big personal development guy, writes a lot. He does a lot in Europe, but his is much more same stuff as Tony Robbins, but he's very calm and more cerebral. And it's just interesting how these all, and you start connecting with how what would be your voice, right? So who out there might have your voice, but it's just going to get it there quicker. So I think prompting is something that I would just say, and I'll give you another example that I did recently was, and this is just fun, right? Is that I was learning a bunch of stuff and we're down here in Cabo and Jill kicked the shower, my wife, and kicked the shower and broke her toe. So she really wasn't feeling good. And so I had it write this poem. And the poem was, write a really sweet poem to my wife that's beautiful and lovely and that she hurt her toe and she's not feeling very good. And it wrote this amazing poem, right? And then I had it, and I said, well, change it a little bit this way and change it a little bit that way. And it actually came out with this great little poem in about 3 minutes and sent it over to Jill. And it was just another way to get a laugh, right? And so there's a lot of ways. And I laugh because I actually wrote a couple other poems to a couple other friends and sent it out to them. And I was sharing this with folks yesterday on one of our calls. And I said it was so funny because they got such a kick out of it that I would actually write that. And then I told them, hey, I wrote it. But they didn't care because the point was I took the time to think about them still. And I still was thinking about them and used a creative way to actually interact with them. And I started thinking, what if I wrote a poem every week for one of my friends and sent it to them, right? What a kick would that, and how easy would that to be to entice my relationship? Silly stuff, guys. So ChatGPT. So we're already talking about it for writing property listings, right? How are we doing that right now? And I tell you, it saved me a lot of time of getting things simpler. And we're going to talk a lot about social media today because I find that is where AI can be used the most in real estate and make our lives a lot simpler. Because the truth is, no matter whether we hate social media, if you're a real estate agent and you want to be around for a while, unless you've got some amazing other sort of text, some other kind of lead generation tool, it is the easiest way to be in front of people and to keep having relationships with people. And we just had that yesterday. I was talking to Lexi and she goes, I had a client that I hadn't talked to hardly at all back in Washington, or actually in Phoenix. And the reason she called her is because she still felt connected. She still was watching her travels, watching her do things, and she created that level of trust. And when we go back to, for any of you that read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it's an old book now, but it's still phenomenal. And how many touches per year were you supposed to have with people? Does anybody know besides Jeff? How many touches do you think you should have with your people a year?
12.
If you want to remember you.
12.
No, more.
36.
32.
Minimum 32 to 36. And some people are saying more than that now. So the idea is, what is a touch? It's really a touch is when they see you or think of you. So if you ran into them in a store, that's a touch. But we've always had to do that. I mean, years ago, it was always like I had to mail twice a month. And we realized that a lot of people aren't seeing our emails anymore. So to think that you're going to send 3 emails a month and they're going to see them, you're delusional. Because now they're going into promo and they're just not seeing them. But if you can become active with them in Facebook and create engaging posts, they're going to see you and they're going to touch you. And it doesn't have to be all about how many solds we had, which certainly helps, a few of those in between. But people want to deal with people that are interesting, and they want to deal with people that they have some sort of connection with. So the more we can build our social media and start building our following, the better we are. So ChatGPT Canva's getting more with AI in the middle of it. I tried to master it this last week and I didn't do a very good job of it. Who's an expert on Canva? Anybody? So what I found with most of these AI tools, guys, and what we realize is that people talk about ChatGPT as like, or what's the other ones out there right now? Musk has got his, and there's a couple others. But what most people don't realize is there's a lot better tools for AI that have taken ChatGPT or an AI model and have made it specific for a certain tool. Jeff, could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I know you've used some of those tools more effectively.
Yeah, it's really it's roping in the data source. Think of it as hold on. There we go. Now I'm back on. Think of it as like being able to port the information in. It's a lot like when Google finally released the API for Google Maps, right? And everybody started putting a map on their website. It was like, oh, that's cool, and we can map things on our website. But really, all of it was powered by Google Maps. So that's happened for years and years. That was not AI. That's just Google Maps. Now with AI, though, AI is conversational. We have, kind of natural language processing, which simply means that you can just speak to it. It speaks back to you. It's really fascinating. And even like prompt engineering has gotten a lot easier. So now what's happening is AI is so intuitive and it understands what needs to be done that we're creating APIs for that, which is a programming language, so we can connect it to a website, have it do things, connect it to my email inbox. But then people are actually building out what are called custom GPTs. You can go and leverage those. Eventually, by the way, if you're using ChatGPT, I believe custom GPTs will be paid, not free. So that's my prediction on that. And then, yeah, you're absolutely right, John. There are other platforms now that are pulling that functionality in. So you see a lot of people spinning off and creating products, leveraging AI as a way to be able to add functionality or add autonomy to a service or a product. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. In fact, I think this idea of kind of crowdsourcing knowledge is going to get easier. I mean, think about it if it's a dermatology app in the future, right? All it needs to do right now is have 30 dermatologists look at things for the next 90 days. At the end of that, it's going to have a higher level of predictability because it will be as good as all of their best performance on their best day. So it's going to hybridize, but it'll be like the combined best of all of them, right? So it's an interesting thing. We're going to see this more and more move into the space, but absolutely. And some of those other platforms, I mean, you mentioned that there are others out there. I mean, you've got ChatGPT, absolutely. Grok is the one that is part of X, formerly Twitter. And even within ChatGPT, there's different models now. There's Turbo for the pro users. You've got Dolly for images, Python for analysis. You have Claude, which is an Anthropic product. Gemini is what Google came out with. Mixtral, which is that's its own thing. So there's a lot of these coming out. We're going to see more and more. I think in the next year, you'll probably see 100 and 200 more, something like that.
And, as we go through this, guys, we're going to cover some stuff that's really basic that you may say I already know this. What I'd like you to be thinking through, and this is what I do a lot when I'm in classes like this, is I'm thinking, what is the one or two things that I could take away that I need to, and I like the word exploit, or really that I could go deeper on? What's the one thing? And because of this technology today, if you take 2 or 3 hours, it's amazing how you can become an expert on something really quick and really apply it into your business. So let's get down to the second one, generating social media content, right? I don't know about you guys, but we're saying I have struggled with that at times. What am I going to put? What is that prompt like this? Give me 5 Instagram post ideas to promote a newly listed home in Salem, write an Instagram caption for a home just sold. It's some variance. And what you can actually do again on that is say, give me 5 different ones and start having variations on that. Going down to asking tricky questions. And this is something that Jeff and I talked about recently. Some of us, including me, don't seem to always respond to people in the way that is most appropriate. As Joanne smiles. And so one of the things with this is if somebody sends you an email that just gets your goat, rather than responding, it might be a good idea to put this into ChatGPT and say, hey, this is an email I just got from a client. What might be the best way that I could respond to this in a way that would be whatever, encouraging, and give me 5 different variations on that. Do you think you might get responses better than what you would have done? Or it might have given you ideas that you didn't think about?
100%.
And that's one of the reasons why, when you see AI working today, especially with chatbots, is that they've already put in like the 20 most likely responses. And then they're saying, what's the best way to respond to that response? And I can tell in my experience that oftentimes if I'd sat down and thought a little bit more about my response, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I get that call, I get that text, and I really want to call somebody and get an opinion before I respond. Because how should I look at this differently? What am I missing? And you can't get a hold of your trusted buddy to help you with that. It's usually my spouse, Jill. Okay, how should I handle this? Because I know I'm going to mess it up again. And she usually walks me through it. But if I can't get a hold of her, you've got your trusted buddy in AI. And as much as we say, what is it? Robert Downey Jr., right? Who was he talking to? Jasper, was it? Was that his guy? We're not that far from that. That we can have Jasper to help us with how we want to respond, how we should deal in this situation, what would be the best response in this situation. And I love this last one. What's the best way to respond to a seller who refuses to lower their listing price despite marketing trends? Does everybody have a script for that? Question is our script the right one? Is there some variations we could have used with that? So again, we're going to get into Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I think personal branding is critical, and it's going to get more and more critical, especially as there's going to be more challenges with phone systems. There's going to be more challenging with automated text. So this is the way to be able to interact with people and to stay in front of them. And again, people buy from people they trust. They also buy from people that have a presence. And we're going to say this over and over, and I've said this for many years, the best real estate agent is not the one making the most money. Would we agree with that? There's a lot of incredible technicians that could write a contract way better than the top agents in their market. But the top agents are the people that know how to market, and they know how to be able to build brand presence. And brand presence and marketing will overcome skill in a certain endeavor 99% of the time. And we hear that in real estate. Like, think about it. You've got 20 years of experience or 15 years, you sold 100 houses. And we literally got it from my daughter the other day. Okay. She's lived with me all these years. She's 25 years old. She's living in Hawaii. She gets a part-time job on top of her other one. She's waiting tables. Check this out. Making minimum $75 an hour in Maui. You imagine that as a part-time job? But it's so expensive to live there. But she's thinking about buying a property, and I've been trying to get her to get her license. She's not. She runs into this little gal that's a part-time agent that works catering with her, and she goes, "Yeah, I think I'll deal with her because I want to help her." And she's got a lot of experts over there. But this is what we're dealing with all the time. That's her mind. I mean, even with us all the time, realizing that why are you not going to experts? She wants to go to help somebody. What are we doing to stay in front of people with our presence so that they realize, hey, we need to stay out there in front of the people. So let's go to the next one. So let's talk about Facebook. And this is something where I really like you guys to grab onto this, maybe take a picture of some of this. But I love this prompt. Give me 5 Facebook post ideas for a real estate agent in blank who wants to attract first-time home buyers. Has anybody been doing anything like this for their Facebook and actually having AI help them write a series of posts that they'd want to put together and really build out their posting for the next 30 days? Does anybody have, so I can't see all of you here. So let me see if I can change my view a little bit. I just love a raise of hand if anybody actually has a strategy about their Facebook posting that they put together 30 days in advance and just follows that process.
I don't do it every month, John, but I have absolutely when we're leaving on trips or I know we're going to be away from the office for a while, I'll schedule out posts, and I've definitely been using AI to write for different types of posts, especially business stuff, right? Personal stuff, I want it to be personal. I still want that to be
Right.
me and fully my voice. But I think it's fun to have this experience of knowing that we can literally just bring AI to bear and say, hey, give me, 17 posts in a row that I can just cut and paste. And then I go into the scheduling function on Meta's business area, so I can schedule it out for my business and boom, 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 schedule it for the next 17 days and I'm done.
Because I find it's overwhelming. When we're doing it haphazardly and we're trying to figure out, okay, we're going to do the next one or next one. But what if we actually took 90 minutes or 60 minutes and really, I mean, this was done in, a lot less than that. But what if we actually took an hour and put all these posts together for the next month and they're done? And now we don't have to think about it. And now all we're doing is doing the ones that come to play. So, hey, we get a new listing. We know we're going to do that. We already have a format. We're going to add our personal ones in the middle of that. But I find that the business ones are the challenging ones for people to put together, and they don't have a system for doing that. And that's where we can utilize this in a fashion. So, I mean, this is great. Give me 5 posts, right? Home buying myth. I love this first one because if you walk down the street and you ask most people how much they have to put down to buy a house, it's still 20%. Most people still think 20%. And that's why the ads that are saying buy a house with 0 down still pull. And it's been pulling for 30 years now. So let's go to the next. So here's some other ones of video scripts, right? Create a 30-second Facebook video script about why it's great time to sell in Medford. Giving us the opening hook, thinking of selling. Here's why it might be the best time now, right? So these are things for us to so what we're using this for is a prompting of ourselves to think about what we need to say. Because I found is, if you guys have done a lot of video before, what's the challenging with creating video and doing video posts or blogs is that it's coming up with new ideas all the time. And then I find that if we have it come up with it and then we have it come up with a couple talking points, most of us could just, like Joe, right? Joe, I know this with Joey, right? So if I just tell Joe, hey, Joe, you need to come up with 3 things to talk about in the next 3 days, today, he's going to go, oh man, I don't have anything that comes to mind. I'm not sure what I want to put down. But if I give Joe 3 things and I need your opinion on that, he doesn't even have to think about it, right, Joe? You're just going to spout it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what if you were using AI to help you create that outline? Because I know Joe, right? He knows, like you and I, Joe, we think all the time, like somebody says, oh, I should write a book, or, Joe and I, how many closes or responses do you and I know off the top of our head, Joe? Like millions, right?
Yeah, it would
I
be
don't know.
categorized as a shit ton.
Right, a shit ton. But if I asked you to write 100 of them down right now, could you do it?
No.
You probably couldn't come up more than 10. Now, Jeff, he could, because he reads a book and he remembers everything that he wrote. But Joe and I don't. But if somebody gives it, if I just said to Joe today, okay, Joe, here's 10 things that just came to mind. Can you give the responses? Boom, he'd come right off the top of his head and nail it. And so we can use AI as a prompting to remind us what we could be posting. I mean, it'd be fun, Joe. It'd be fun to say, I'm going to create blog posts on sales. And even, just put it out there and say, okay, I'm going to give the answers to these 10, these 10 challenges. What's the first, I'm not using the right word. What's the right word?
Objections.
Objections, right? And what if you just said, Joe, I'm going to give me 10 objections that has to do with selling real estate, and come up with objections, and then you just answer those as a blog post, as a Facebook post. You just nail it, wouldn't you?
Why do I want to go through all that trouble? Why don't I Google the 10 answers too?
Well, you could do that too, right? But you
Eventually,
probably
we
wouldn't
won't know how
want,
to do anything.
well, and that's true, right? But then we're actually putting them together.
Right.
So here's a way of actually creating scripts, right? So what's our hook? What's the insight, right? So again, it's just getting us to start moving faster. It's getting us to start thinking in an automated way. And again, what I'm really talking about is that we don't need to be scared of anything anymore. We can find outlines for everything. We can prompt and use other people's intelligence. And that's the real key, right? The smart people is that I don't have to know all the answers. I just have to find people that have the answers. But it was a lot more challenging in the past to find people that have the answers. So again, AI for Instagram. Is anybody a real Instagram person in here? I mean, I know people that have built their whole business around Instagram. Not me. But what if we do in there, like, look at this prompt, guys. Write an Instagram caption for a real estate agent posting about a newly listed 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Salem. Also generate 10 hashtags. Boom. There it is. It's just done. Let's go on to the next one. And again, what I'm trying to get in my mind and for my agents and the agents that I work with is to think about, whoops, did I duplicate it twice? Is how do we start creating automated things? So we need to start thinking about how do we make things that often thought complicated to us simple and get them done in an automated fashion so we can get back to our money-making ideas. And while these are money-making ideas, they're not putting us in front of clients, but they're going to give us the opportunity to be out in front of them. And again, the slide carousel. What's the idea? Create 5-slide Instagram carousel post about top buying mistakes first-time home buyers should make. Boom, there it is. Now we can go and use graphics around that, and it's done. So I always think, how could I implement this one day a week? What would that look like so it's done? What about with Instagram Reels and Stories? Write a 15-second Instagram Reel script about how great time it is to buy. The opening hook again. I mean, look at how the input, and we can start saying, change the input. I don't like the feel of that. Could you change the tone of this? It's now the best time to buy. Let's talk. Home prices are stabilizing. Interest rates are expected to shift. Well, they're actually coming down right now, right? As we all say, if the stock market just will keep coming down, rates will come down. It's so counterintuitive. DM me for home buyers. Other thing for TikTok, right, is we can do different types of programs, right? So CapCut has become very simple, and it's not in. Has it just become in ChatGPT as well right now?
You mean CapCut?
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know if they're merged. Actually, I'm not sure on that one.
And how do you use CapCut, Jeff?
CapCut's great for creating videos. There's a lot that you can do on there. If you guys are looking for a product, even just the free version, you can literally use it to create voiceovers. You know, if you spend even 5 minutes on YouTube, guys, you'll notice these videos that it's like, you know, the whatever, you just watch some instructional video and it's like the voice is really, really good. It sounds super human, but you can tell maybe it's an AI. It doesn't sound live. It's not like a robot anymore, right? Like AI sounds like a human voice. And actually, I would guess in the next 2 months, it's going to be indiscernible. Some of them are indiscernible now, but you can go on there for free. You can render voices. You can do fully AI created videos. It will create the entire script and render the entire video using AI videography, AI voice, all this stuff. And there's like 26 other tools in there that I don't use. But if you're doing podcasting, it's great for that. So I would recommend it. A lot of people I know have been out there using like Opus Clip to do reels chopped out of like a video like this one, right, where it shrinks it to be this, you know, the lands or the portrait orientation, and then puts captions on there. CapCut will do that for free. So there's a lot of functionality in that product. I'm actually just getting started with it, but I've been using it, love it, think it's pretty rad.
Well, I think I'm also seeing right now is that you can actually go in and create a video and you can have it change and it'll know your voice and start understanding your voice, and it'll change it to another language and make your lips match.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I'm thinking I don't really know Spanish, but I'll tell you what, I'd love to actually do a bunch in Spanish and then refer the leads over to somebody else. What would that look like, right? So, I mean, that's just crazy of what's coming out there. Um, yeah, it's interesting how many people are making money right now, Jeff, on total AI videos that the image of the person isn't even real. And it's
Yeah,
just
you don't
working.
even need it to be. Nobody cares anymore. It's weird. I mean, I'm not saying they don't care about who you are, but if you're like me, there's better things to put on screen than this ugly mug. So
So again, titles and hooks. And I love this because I think I forget a lot about hooks, right? I forget about the titles. It just doesn't come quickly to me, or I use the same ones over and over. And that's a problem, right? So Joanne, the idea like, okay, I'm writing scripts for my real estate. One of the challenges, I just kept doing the same thing over and over. Most of us just, okay, I'm going to copy what I used last time, and I'm just going to change a few words.
We used to have this elderly agent back in the day, and every single one of her listings were glorious. Like they're all glorious. And it was like, okay, here's Diane's glorious listing. It was funny. So that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so it's just adding the variety into that. So really the big thing is like with personal branding is AI creates it faster. No more struggling. And I think for some people like me, I struggle with content for Facebook and I don't even do Instagram, but I struggle with that. And so I find a lot of agents struggle with it. And it doesn't mean they're not good agents. I know some people on here right now that are tremendous agents doing a lot of volume, that are doing very little with social media. The question I would have, and that's because they're uncomfortable with it, it's just not their thing yet because it's out of our safety zone and we're scared of learning more or messing and making up. But the question is for the top agents today that are so good using what they have, what would happen if they added social media? What would their business do at that point? How much more business would they have without working harder? And that the realization is because of AI, it doesn't have to be that hard. And the learning curve has made it so much faster. And I think that's what it comes down to is that, it used to be, okay, I've got to go out and spend a bunch of time trying to read and figure it out. Maybe I watch a bunch of YouTube videos. But the truth today is there's so many tools. Like I just was looking at a tool the other day that for $39 a month, he's built the whole thing out about how to, and his whole, so it's like Jeff talked about, it's an actual AI product. I don't know what you use it, but he's taken it all and made it so it will help you write all your posts. You put the basics in, and it will actually populate all the different ones for you for $39 a month. And it's made it so much simpler. So you don't have to even have the learning curve. The product does most of it for you. Again, where are we getting the daily content without the burnout? And that's really the challenge. And the more eyes, how do we get more eyes on our listing? I'm even thinking about it today, and that I thought about yesterday is that I have a bunch of rental properties. The truth is, I don't really typically like how my property managers are managing them. Not they're managing them, but how they're running ads. And I thought, what could I do using AI to start getting more eyeballs on my rental properties to be able to be filled quicker? Because I know that's not really their gift, right? That's not what they think about. So how could I do that very inexpensively? So that's actually one of my takeaways over yesterday as I was really working more on stuff and finishing up was, what could I use AI to help implement what I'm already doing? So again, Jeff, can you talk a little bit about chatbots? And this is something I really didn't have time to get into. I don't really understand it that well. How chatbots can be used for marketing right now, or how they're already using. And if anyone's already using them, I'd love to hear their experience.
yeah, I love this concept. And actually I discovered, because you were kind of prepping for this, John, and we chatted the other day, and I discovered that there's a fully integrated chatbot, AI powered chatbot function that's pay to play, but it's on Zapier and it's really cheap. So if you wanted to have like literally an AI chatbot on your website that just says, I'm an AI, but ask me anything about real estate, you can program it. And you could even tell it that its goal is to get this person's contact information so that they can get good information from the licensed agent. You can tell it to not answer certain types of questions if you want to keep it out of licensure issues. You can do all sorts of stuff. But think about it like a really smart person who just needs some direction, right? Like super smart. It's going to be able to answer all the questions, probably better than any of us, which is awesome. But yeah, if you just go to Zapier, zapier.com, you could have anybody on here could have a fully integrated AI chatbot on their website by the end of today, like easily, which is pretty awesome. There are also definitely conversational multi-chat platforms. Like I see that you have ManyChat on there and Drift. I love ManyChat. It's awesome. And ManyChat has totally baked AI in now. So what's going to be happening before long, and this gets a little weird because it's hard to see how this is all going to pencil out, but I will tell you what's going to be happening is a lot of times you're going to be dealing with a person, you think you're dealing with the person, turns out you're dealing with their AI. And the AI has been responding the whole time, taking notes, aggregating that information, maybe delivering a summary to them in an email, but that person is golfing. And their AI is doing work for them. Yeah, John's like, yeah, right? Or surfing or playing pickleball. That's what we've got in common now. So, but it's fascinating to think about this. And the reason I say it gets a little weird is because then there's a question of like, well, but what if my AI is chatting with your AI? And at some point, where do we fit in? I don't know is the answer. But, and you say it's a robot, Joanne, but it's ultimately it's real intelligence. And what's going to start happening is, these AI right now are still technically robotic in certain ways in their intelligence, but it's evolving so rapidly that it's going to not just feel like, but actually be an individual with whom you're speaking, if that makes any sense. AI before long, we can't use the word person, but it will have its own personality. It will have its own persona. And I think that could be a good thing. It could be weird and squirrely, but I don't think so. I think we'll make controls around it. What do you think, Joanne?
I don't like chatting with a machine, a non-human, whatever. It's not a person. I believe in personal connection between humans. So for me, it's just, I mean, I know that we can't get around it and we got to use it. And, I don't want to be like the realtor with a flip phone, right? I'm not, can't do that. Can't do that. So, I know that it's part of our lives, but I'll never say that I'm going to be okay with chatting with a machine or a non-human.
Yeah.
I want a human connection.
I get that.
We're going to have to fight for that. We're going to have to fight to keep human connection. I mean, we can be replaced
big time, actually.
I'd hate to see that happen. I want people to remember that we're all created in the image of God and we have a soul and a spirit, and the chat bot that you're chatting with, it's not a human. It doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have a spirit. It might have a personality, but it's not human. And let's never forget that we are made uniquely for a purpose as a human.
And I think
I love that.
I agree with you 100%. And the beauty about this technology we're talking about is there's only so much of us. So if we're wanting to move, for example, you're not going to be answering somebody at 3:00 in the morning. But when that client wants to be getting information, a chatbot can be giving it to them. So I think that's the key, is that whenever we can learn to have things working when we're not working, and it's not going to work for everybody in terms of somebody isn't going to want to talk to you. They only want to talk to a live person at 3:00. Well, no matter. But the question is, Joanne, if you were on 8 hours a day taking all the calls,
yeah.
But if you could have a machine running another 16 hours a day and it picked up an extra client a month,
yeah,
would that be
sure.
worth
It's
it?
a tool. I believe
Right.
it.
And that's what I get at, is it's a tool,
I think
right?
It's great as a tool.
And
I just
that's why
don't want to talk to it.
yeah, and I think there's certain times that I want to chat with a bot. I just want to get some basic information and I can get through it, and I don't want to have somebody trying to close me because the truth is sometimes when I'm talking to a person, I feel more obligated. I feel more like if they ask me closing questions, I've got to respond versus chatbot, screw you, I'm going to the next, right? And I don't feel like I'm offending anybody. But if it's a person, sometimes I want actually less personality, and I'm going to feel safer that way. The other is, how do we start? So some of you guys are seeing out there right now, and this has been coming around for about 5, 6 years now, but it's becoming more prevalent. AI is actually going out and doing statistical analysis on zip codes and being able to figure out based upon how people have lived there, what their age is, what their mortgage rates are, who is most likely to move in the next year. Have people seen those tools already? They work. And it's really taken into effect that, I was sharing that in my flip business, we bought lists. And we knew generically that if I bought lists of people that were over 65, that had zero equity in their home, 100% equity, excuse me, they had a rental property and they'd owned it for over 15 years, and especially if I knew they were over 70, that was my best producing list of people that I could buy flips from and make money. And so we're targeting those. So now these aggregators have figured this out. And there's a lot of benefits if you're going to be, especially if you're trying to farm today. So if any of you've got a big farm, you want to get these tools and pay for those tools, because what you'll know is you can spend, if you got a 5,000, let's say you have 5,000 houses in your farm. The key really is how many of those listings can you get? Because you've got the listings that people are going to see them without you actually mailing to every single one of them. So the key is if I had a big farm today, I was doing it, I would be buying those lists and I'd be doubling down my mailing on the people that it predicted are more likely to move. And I'd be spending almost no money, because when you're doing general farming, you're mailing to the people that just moved there a month ago. What's the likelihood they're moving in the next? The average person stays in their home right now a lot longer than they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Ever since 2008, the average person stays 12 years now. So when you're building a farm out, your first is to go in and try and find a geographical area that they move at a faster rate. That's the first thing. I want to know my turnover. And then if you could actually find one of these AI tools and pay for it that tells you, and what they'll do is they'll keep updating that every 90 days. And then I would be getting my mailing list that's specific to that to work out into that situation. So let's go. And also, where can you start gathering data, right? Of how are you using AI to really gather data and sort? Because right now you can gather data. So you could take your MLS data of what's happening in the market, and you can actually have it formulated in the way you want it and actually be able to present it back to the public in a way that's very easy to read. You can have it fill into graphs. You can have it fill into build out forms. You can have it build out graphs of what's actually happening, and you can mess with it how you want. You can build into spreadsheets. Again, very simple on what that's going to look like. And again, I think so much today is, how can I use AI when I'm doing my presentations? How can I make my presentations look professional? Now, the truth is, many agents that have been around a long time will tell you, I haven't used a presentation forever. However, having it in your back pocket and having it done right and just leaving it on the table makes a lot of difference. What would it be like if you were creating something? What if you created a book about yourself and your marketing that you could do very quickly with AI that was amazing, and you had it mailed to the people's house before you went to the listing? That used to take forever. I used to create videos that, we created really high level professional videos that would be dropped off at people before we went to the listing presentation. But it cost, I remember dropping $10,000-15,000 to do that. And then all of a sudden something changed. You change brokerages 3 months later and you're screwed, right? Because you couldn't even cut those things. Today, there's so much you can do that would really help enhance your professionalism, and that's very simple to be able to do. There's so many things you could do within just terms creating whole histories around people's houses, whole histories around their neighborhood that takes technology and takes it to another level that most agents aren't doing.
And John, I
And-
put a couple of those tools actually in the chat here. Offers OFFRS. They're doing totally predictive analysis using AI for generating listing leads, and it's like super high probability that these folks will list. Remine, REMINE.com. It's another one. So there's a bunch of these out there that are not just doing the analysis, but then actually, I mean, obviously selling those leads back to agents. But I would say, you know, if you don't know how to go build that tool, it's already built. You can now pay for the value of having that. So those are some types of tools that I would be looking out for in the coming months. There will be more obviously entering the market, I'm sure. But that type of thing is going to set a lot of agents ahead.
I agree. And just how do we use that tool? So really, as we get on this and this is really wrapping up in a lot of ways. We're doing this a lot quicker today. But I want to have some question and answer, and I want to get into a little bit deeper. So my big key takeaway, and I'd ask everybody, is we've covered a lot of basic stuff, and a lot of you may have already known this. But my question is, knowing and doing are two different things. Lots of people know, but very few people do. And my question today was, you've been thinking about AI for a long time. My real question is, what are you going to decide to implement? Where do you see you could take advantage of some of your gifts and take them to a higher level? Where could you use AI to fill some of the gaps in your business to either make it simpler or to take it to the next level? Does anybody have any examples of where they've used AI to really help them grow their business or to make their life much simpler? I'd like to hear that if anybody does.
I'll speak up. I think everyone in the room should be using AI, like in the very, very least, using ChatGPT or whatever you decide to use to do your profile or your bio, right? Because every real estate agent has a bio. You have one on your KV Core, you have one on your website, you have one on Google, and you just put into ChatGPT like some keywords and say, please help me create a mission statement or a bio, and then you place it wherever you need to, cut and paste it. And you may have said this, but tell your ChatGPT to ask you 25 questions that will help it get to know you better. Or maybe it's 10, however much time you have. But ask me the top 10 questions that will help you get to know me before you do that bio. That would be my suggestion. But I play with that stuff all the time. And listing descriptions. I just listed a condo in Portland, and I said, please give me a listing description for the Quintet condominiums under 512 characters. It was beautiful because it sources the information about that condo online, or you can just use an address, right? And it will pull the info and the data online and then write the description. And it's done in seconds. So it's a huge time saver for me.
That's great. So interesting what you said, and I don't understand this well enough, so I'll ask anybody in this. Does your Chat GPT get to know your personality, or do you have to get the upgraded version for it to know your personality? The basic version will do it?
Yes.
Yes.
So that idea of actually coming up with 25 questions and then actually answering those questions with there is going to start flavoring everything that you're doing then. That's brilliant. And Jeff, you said you're using something very, you're having conversations with your AI these days, right? Could you share that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I really treat it more like an assistant. And so come in, I've got work to do. Anything. You actually mentioned bookkeeping before, John. I've been using it for everything. I came up with our full tax strategy for this year with all filing dates. And by the way, it found me well over $10,000 worth of local tax deductions based on little things that we could file here or do this there. And Not a joke. I mean, I'm paying $20 a month. I'm positive it's saved me $15,000 to $20,000. I'm getting questions answered that I used to have to ask my attorney or my CPA, and those things would cost me money every single time. And now I can go in, and if it's something dumb where I'm like, I'm sure this is common knowledge, this is not my common knowledge, I can go get that information. Way different, by the way, than Googling something. I just want you guys to understand the difference. Here's the difference. If I Google something and I find an article written by someone brilliant, even Scott Gephardt wrote an article on this thing, whatever it is, right? That's awesome. And so I go read the article, but I only get Scott's opinion or his perspective, right, in that one article. The difference with AI is AI has read the entire internet and remembers all of it and can access it instantaneously. So if there's 3,000 people who have written on a topic, it can reference all 3,000 of them in an instant and say, seems like most of the experts agree that this is the way, and then it will give you the best fit answer instead of just one person's answer. So it's dynamically better for you. And I mean, I love stuff like even simple things like just using it to plan out your week. On occasion, I will literally take a picture of my calendar and I will say, here's what I've got going on this week. Help me to optimize. What do I need to change? And it will make suggestions. It can just look at a photo. By the way, the other day, I'm here at Lexi's sister Meg's house, and her husband Glenn was trying to figure out how to, he was having a problem turning on the hot tub. Like the machine wasn't working. He's got like an app, and how do I do this thing? And I don't even know. And it was kind of bogus. It kept turning on and turning off. I walked back there. I just want everyone to understand how like unbelievable this technology is. I took a picture of their entire the systems and settings and the heater and all the stuff that's there in the yard. So I took a picture. I said, do you know what this is? And my AI, by the way, has self-identified as female and named herself Lyra. So Lyra says back to me, she said, yeah, absolutely. I know what that is. That's a blah, blah, blah system, 249 Delta / whatever with the this, that, and the other add-ons. And I said, great, we're having this problem. Can you tell me what's the most likely reason that we're having that issue? And immediately she said, yep, it's this. I was like, dude, he would have had to call a repair guy, like for sure. And it was like one simple little thing, and it totally fixed the problem. So I just want can it be helpful in real estate? Yeah, dynamically. By the way, my estimation is in the next few years, you're going to see imagine it this way. Did anybody ever play like World of Warcraft? Did anybody play that kind of stuff, or am I the only nerd on here?
I know what it is.
Or Civilization, any of these types of games where you have to you take over like part of the world using resources.
Minecraft.
Right? Yeah, totally. Exactly. Like resource allocation. But in a lot of those games, the thing that I remember is that there was always a character like a wizard or a witch or whatever, somebody with magical powers. And that magical power character, if you had them in your army, could help you stand out way beyond your competitors. You could just dominate, right? If you had the wizard character, you could just cast a spell and all of the other armies would die or whatever. That's kind of what AI is going to do for real estate agents. If you use AI, it's going to be like you've got the wizard. And if you're not using it, it's going to be like somebody else has the wizard. It's not that it won't exist. You can't put your head in the sand and pretend that this isn't happening. Like, it's a nice strategy, but you'll be unemployed. And so what I would recommend instead is just adopt it and start using it. And my very favorite, in fact, John, do you care if we do a screen share? Is that okay?
No, I'd like you to do the screen share. I
Okay.
was trying to get rid of my screen share. I don't know.
Oh, no, you're good. I think it's off. So, okay, is everybody seeing this? I just asked it to write a powerful bio prompt, by the way. That went really quickly. So act in a capacity, doesn't matter how you say this, by the way. Actually, I'm going to change it. Prompt engineering used to be a thing, and you're absolutely right, John. Everybody was selling books for a while. But I'm just going to show you how dumb you can be. I'm not going to punctuate anything. Act like a realtor. Okay. So now she's going to act like a realtor. Wait, I wasn't still prompting on the previous thing. So now let's just say I want to say, I'm not sure what I should do this week to generate 2 to 3 listings. Help. Ah! Okay, there we go. All right, let's breathe. You need 2 to 3 listings this week. Totally doable. Here's your high intensity, no nonsense game plan. So for those of you who have paid $500 billion like I have for coaching over the years, here's a free coach. This is pretty amazing. Now, you're not going to like every single thing that it has to say or every approach that it comes up with, and that is totally fine. Listen, if it came up with nothing but stuff that you don't like, hit it back and say, hey, I don't like these. Give me 5 more. Give me a whole nother week. I'd rather not cold call people, or I'd rather not talk to expireds, or I'd rather not do this. Give me a different answer. But what's fascinating, and I just want you guys to see this happening in real time, this is bonkers. This used to be the kind of, I mean, John knows, this is the kind of stuff that you would have to pay top dollar to either go to a seminar and hear from a genius or an expert, somebody who's nailed it before, or you have to get a top level coach, right? And you're paying that person, you know, $1,000 to $10,000 a month just to be able to get information like this. Can you schedule out an hourly schedule for my week with this in it? Okay, go.
Hey,
Right?
Jeff, could you do on this is like go into more detail with this outline
Yep.
of how to do it and examples?
Yeah, exactly. Well, look at this. I mean, it's already cranking out here from 9 to 12. You're going to call expireds and FSBOs. And this is all just Monday, right? 12 to 1, I'm going to have lunch and social media posting. 1 to 3, I'm going to do this. 3 to 5, I'm going to do this. Tuesday, I'm going to do this. Da, 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 da. Like for anybody who's like, well, I don't know what to do. Gosh, what would I do with my time? Time blocking is terrible. I'm not sure how to do. Guys, it's done for you already. This is not hard anymore. And so the fact that we're making, here's the difference, John. And I will say this. For people who aren't used to working on their business instead of just in their business, you need to pivot. You need to be spending a lot, like 90% of your time needs to be on your business now because you have a like 100x genius that's working for you now. There is no excuse. If all you're wanting to do is be in your business, you're going to be smaller and smaller as the market expands around you. And so what I would recommend is spend a lot of time being on your business. What's that mean? Give me a tax plan for the year. Like how many people didn't know that corporate filings were due on the 15th of this month, not next month, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to, and if you don't know that, well, that's okay. You can turn it in late for a penalty. That just cost you money for not knowing that one thing. Easy. So I had ChatGPT build out my entire annualized tax plan with every filing I'm supposed to do, every piece of paper, and by the way, links to every single IRS doc. That's epic. Colleen says, where are you when you ask AI that question? I'm not sure which question you meant, Colleen.
You're using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, perfect. Any question? Yeah. Going to ChatGPT. So just go to chatgpt.com.
Hey, Jeff, go back in and do just give an example of when you asked it for the plan of what to do, ask it to actually detail it exactly how you would do that.
Yep. Yep. Can you detail exactly how to do all of this? I didn't need like 10 degrees in prompt engineering in order to be able to do this. And so now it's just going to break down exactly how to do it. The 5-day plan to get 2 to 3 listings. Guys, how many of us have like paid for books called the 5-day plan to get 2 to 3 listings? Right.
Gephardt and I have paid a lot of money.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have bankrupted myself 10 times over just learning how to do all this. And so it's going to give me good information about how to pull this off. Now, here's the thing, and John mentioned this, by the way, which is brilliant, which is you still have to execute. You have to use AI if it's going to be a valuable tool to you. It's not going to use itself for your benefit, right? We're not there yet. And the second we get there, everyone's unemployed. But guess what? For now, we can all hop on here and leverage this. You still have to turn around and do this work. So guess look, AI is not calling well, actually, so there are some AI tools that will call your clients for you, but that's crazy. And it's just going to get nuts out there. And eventually it'll sound like a real human being. It's going to be indiscernible. That doesn't make it a real human being. And I understand the differentiation. However, will that accelerate business? Yes. Why? Because if I can have 500 AIs operating simultaneously, that means it could make 500 phone calls in one instant. That's where we're going. So brace yourself for the future. But what I would say is ask it to coach you. Ask AI to coach you on how to use AI. That's a bit of a meta way to think about this. But look, I just want to point out, it's still coming up with our game plan for us. Like this would have taken forever. And the other thing that I can tell you guys is if you get overwhelmed on something, you're like, this is too much for me to be able to think about. stop it and simply say, never mind, simply tell me the first thing I need to do. And then tell me the next thing. I'll tell you when I'm done with the first one. And it will tell you the first thing to do. Go do this, log into this software, go get this platform, go make this phone call, go do whatever. It will literally boss you around. If you need a boss, guess what? You got one now. Act as my boss in a super mega team that closes 1,000 deals a year and tell me exactly what to do to have exponential real estate success this year. Tell me the first thing to do. I'll do it and I'll let you know when I'm done. And it'll go boop.
You know, Jeff, the thing that I think about this is that, you know, guys, there's a lot of shiny objects in real estate, and it's very easy to get distracted. And sometimes we have a hard time discerning those, especially me. But what I can tell you is that I know AI is not a shiny object. You know, and when I first got into real estate, we didn't have the MLS. There were people that actually resisted the MLS. Didn't like it. Oh, this technology, and I can't figure it out, and it's so complicated. What's wrong with using the book? And so there's certain things that are shiny objects that are going to disappear, but I can tell you this is one that's not going to. And we can resist all we want, but it's not going to change. You know, the likelihood that politics are, you know, the likelihood that we're going to have a different president during the next 3 years is highly unlikely that Trump's going to be impeached. Okay, so you can think it's going to and plan your life around it, or you can just say, here's reality of what it's going to be, and I'm going to deal with it, right? Whether we like it or not. And that's kind of the way with AI. It's like, we're going to like it or not, right? But it's there. So where can we start utilizing it and get ahead of the curve? And I think a lot of us are already behind the curve, but it's not too late. But it's not too late. And so I'd ask again, you know, probably, unless anybody has any questions, we'll probably wrap up, Jeff. But the thing is, I'd say is, I always say, what's the one place you're going to start using this and exploring it and become an expert? And you can become an expert in a matter of a week on any one topic. Is it that again, I'm going to say for most people to be leaning a little bit into their social media, because I find that's a gap for most people today to be doing it consistently. Where can I be utilizing that more effectively? How can I start making it where it's automated, that I'm just going to decide I'm going to create the next 30 days worth of posts and I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to dig deep on this. If it takes me 5-6 hours to figure out how to do this, I'm going to get it figured out. Because the beauty is, once you figure this out, everything just starts getting easier. You know, it's like once you did your first prompt, you know, from the beginning it got hard. Now it's just easy, right? Now you know how to just add to it, change it. I mean, just even for Jeff a week ago when he said, 2 weeks ago, and says, why don't you can change it to somebody else's voice. Wow, all of a sudden, all my responses are with as if Russell Brunson brought it. That's like that's a $10 million guy writing my emails.
Well, he literally would charge $1 million, I think, to write those emails, John, or 10 million. I mean, it would definitely be 7+ figures.
Yeah. So again, that's all I say is, where can you implement this? How do we make sure that and that was part of why I said for dummies and boomers, and I'm right at the bottom of that boomer section. Most of you are a little bit younger, but you know, where are we resisting? We're resisting. Yes, there's going to be things we don't like about it, and there's things we don't, but the truth is, it isn't going to stop it from coming. You know, we don't like that there's less houses selling right now than there was 3 years ago, but guess what? There are. And there's a lot of agents that have been fighting it for the last 3 years, and they're not selling a lot of houses. But I know a lot of agents that are killing it right now, having the best years they've ever had in spite of it. So where are we going to move forward with that? And where are we going to have, and I'd love to have this idea, guys. Take the word hard or difficult out of your vocabulary. Doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be difficult, just a simple process, and you're going to pick it up fast. Anything else, Jeffrey?
No, that's awesome, John. This is really great stuff. And I just have to say, what a great call to action. I hope everybody heard that, which is just get started. just plug in, like get going. This is here to stay. This is definitely not a fad. don't think for a minute that's like everybody who's like, I'm not sure if the internet's going to stick around. Like, yep, it did. So AI is as big of a disruptive technology as we've ever seen, probably the biggest. And so good or bad is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. All that matters is whether or not you're willing to use it. I asked AI just a minute ago, I said, can you tell me what'll happen with agents who use AI? And it said, here's from AI. AI is here to stay because the agents who embrace it will outpace, outsmart, and outserve the competition, leveraging predictive analytics, automation, and instant market insights to win more listings, close more deals, and deliver unmatched client experience. So about a third of all businesses on the earth are using AI right now, guys. Just make sure that you're in that third. That's the differentiator. We got a lot of people who are going to just resist and resist. Those people are going to get left behind. Don't be one of them. That's all.
And as we talk about market share, Scotty always talks about gaining market share. If you can use this tool to get market share, it's going to be harder for people to get past you. Because the more
100%.
market share you have and the more people you have interpersonal relationships with right now, the better everything's going to be when the market turns around.
100%.
You'll
You'll be ready.
That's something, John, actually, that I've been wanting to say is just that. It's like 10xing yourself. And there's AI out right now and I'm implementing right now, which I didn't want to interrupt, but full on AI assistant with my company. I have AI
Just needs to
callers
get
that
it
are
for his
going to
internet
actually
connection.
replace my ISAs, and now they're going to have a different role.
Or I need it.
There's amazing stuff. And there's stuff where, Joanne, I could probably trick you into thinking you're talking with the person by sending you some stuff, because you won't know the difference. It's so close already, and it's just going to get crazier and crazier really quickly. But it is really a way I've always looked at it like that. Like, I've embraced technology because I believe that my favorite thing is a face-to-face meeting. I 100% believe that's the way to go. But I want to get 10 face-to-face meetings in a day someday, and instead of maybe one a week by doing it the other way. So that's all it is. It helps you. But there's full-on assistant. There's so much to AI. Like, this is like just a little drop in the bucket of what's even out there right now. If you really
We've just seen barely the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Scott. All right, guys. Well, thank you so very much, John. Incredible content. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.